Hey everyone, it's Wednesday's weather for Weather Geeks, our daily online only in-depth weather video. I can show you a lot more on this video than I can on TV due to the time restrictions on 21 News. You know, I only get 3 minutes a night. On this video, I have a lot more time to show you what's going on with the weather, both in the short term and the long term. So if you're kind of a newbie here, if you're just discovering these videos, hope you really enjoy them and check back and watch them every day. They get online usually at about 3 o'clock or so each weekday afternoon, and sometimes I'll do one in the morning or on the weekend if needed, depending on the weather. Our weather, quiet today. The sun is shining. We got off to a frigid start this morning, but it's recovered pretty nicely this afternoon. I want to focus for just a second on the major weather story across the country. That, of course, is the snow and ice storm down in the southeast. This is the radar at about 2:15 this afternoon. Let me take off some of this information, and you can see here heavy snow in North Carolina, and then it turns into a big ice event that's been ongoing all day from Atlanta to Augusta to Columbia, Florence, down towards Myrtle Beach. This is the zone that there's going to be people without power for days. Unfortunately, you get so much ice on trees and power lines that power becomes a real problem. So unfortunately, that's going to be the case, I think, for the rest of the week down in this really bad icy zone. They're actually getting it pretty bad in terms of snow up towards Charlotte and Greensboro, but at least it's snow and not ice. And, you know, North Carolina is a little different than Atlanta. They do have more of an infrastructure to deal with snow in North Carolina than they do farther south. They don't have the kind of infrastructure we have here where we get much more snow, but they can deal with it a little easier in places such as Raleigh and Charlotte than they can down in Atlanta. So this is a whopper of a storm, and it will not have any impact on us. Let me just show you where this is going real quickly here. I'm going to show you the high-resolution computer model that'll show us the type of precipitation and generally what the radar should look like as we go through time. I'll fast forward to tonight at, say, midnight, and this storm will be crawling up the East Coast at this point. This will be a big snowstorm for Washington and Baltimore, eventually, especially the western suburbs of Philadelphia, the western suburbs of New York City. The closest it will get to us will be just south and east of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, stays dry, but over towards the Laurel Highlands, the Appalachian Mountains, Altoona, State College, Johnstown, yeah, they're going to get some snow out of this. But that's as close as it's going to get to us. This is a miss for us. Here's tomorrow, what it'll look like along the East Coast. It'll be a real mess, while we will enjoy more relatively quiet weather across northeast Ohio and western Pennsylvania. As far as temperatures today, let me show you what we're doing this afternoon. It's a little more tolerable this afternoon. We got off to such a frigid start this morning, but it's been a rapid rise with this wall-to-wall sunshine we have out there today. We're in the mid-20s. We're not quite back to normal, but we are getting there. The satellite shows a lot of gray, but this is not cloud cover today. This is still the snow on the ground reflecting and being picked up by the satellite. If the image will completely load, I'll show you what Lake Erie looks like. It's, of course, frozen over. I've been talking about this on the air this week. Pretty much 100% of Lake Erie is frozen over, and the Great Lakes as a whole reaching their biggest coverage of ice in 20 years, since the winter of 93-94. Lake Ontario is very deep. You can see there's a lot of open spaces there, but Erie is frozen. Much of Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Superior also frozen. Not all of them, but most of them. So, yeah, it's been that kind of a winter here across the Great Lakes. No weather-related problems for us until Friday. That big East Coast storm is a miss for us. And then here's Friday morning's map, Friday afternoon or midday. Low pressure, a little Alberta clipper up over Lake Huron with a cold front back like this. Now, I'm becoming less and less impressed with this clipper. I think the steadiest of the snow may actually be south of the Ohio River with this. So we're not looking at a lot of snow with this at all, and there'll be some flurries around Friday night heading into Saturday. They should shut down towards the midday and afternoon on Saturday. Another clipper Saturday night late into Sunday morning. Looks like a real fast week wind. I think Sunday probably starts out with clouds and flurries, but we probably will lose those by the end of the afternoon. A little sunshine at the end of Sunday. And then next week, the big story becomes the coming warmth. It's not going to come until the end of next week, though. This is Monday's map, and we've got a system to deal with here on Monday. This is Monday at 1 p.m. This is a stronger-looking storm about to pivot through. And precipitation type will be a little questionable depending on when the precipitation arrives. If this gets a little faster and the precipitation arrives early in the day, we could be dealing with a few problems with some ice Monday morning. Sleet, freezing rain. That's if the precipitation gets in early enough. If it waits until midday and afternoon, which looks a little more likely at this point, I think we will have warmed up enough that it should just be rain, actually. Not much, but some rain for Monday afternoon, Monday evening. It'll change back over to snow Monday night as the system pulls away. At this point, it doesn't look like a big snow producer. And then next week, the big story becomes the warmth. By Thursday and Friday, we've got some serious warmth heading our way, which I'll talk about in just a second. Well, how much snow are the models saying with that Friday night clipper? The amounts look less and less impressive here. If my browser will pan over. This is the SREF model. There's 21 members of this model. And for a little more information on what the SREF model is, if you're interested, if you're really into the weather and aren't quite sure what this is, check out some of my previous videos or some of my blog posts. I do explain this. But basically, this ensemble model gives us an average between Friday and Saturday, if you combine the 2 days, of about an inch or so, with a lot of that falling on Saturday. Now, I mentioned how Saturday I don't really expect much to happen. I think the SREF is a little off on its prediction here for Saturday. It's predicting too much snow. I think this is a Friday evening event, and the average for that, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. So what I think I'm going to do on the news tonight is take our predicted snowfall for Friday down from 1 to 3 to probably 1 to 2, and even that is probably a little optimistic. I think a lot of us will get an inch out of this, but not much more. But of course, we did learn a little bit of a lesson last weekend that sometimes these systems can throw you a curveball at the last minute. So we'll be tracking this all the way to Friday to make sure this one doesn't throw us a curveball and bring us 4 or 5 inches like that to one Sunday did. I don't think that's likely at this point, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. European model gives us about a half an inch, so that goes along with my thinking that, again, this is not going to be a big snow producer. All right, the warmth next week. What I'm going to do here is show you something a little different today. What I'm showing you is a probability map, and this is based on the European model, the probability that we will reach at least 50 degrees next Friday, and the probabilities are pretty high. If you look over here, once we get into some of these deeper oranges, that's up around 70–80%, and that's where we are here Friday afternoon. So, right now it looks pretty likely next Friday, 9 days from now, we will get above 50. I think 60 is even on the table. Now, what about 70? Probably not so much. Here's the chance of 70 degrees next Friday. You can see that some low-end chances here, maybe up to 10 to 20%, do get as far north as the Ohio River, Cincinnati maybe. But this far to the north, I think 70 is not very likely next Friday. But I think 60 is within our grasp at the end of next week. And boy, wouldn't that be nice? We deserve it. We deserve a break. It's been a really long winter. We're really hoping to have a nice spring with warmth, not much severe weather, and we certainly deserve it after this very long winter. For more stats on how the winter has been historically, check out my blog post from this morning on my blog, ericwfmj.com. The numbers are pretty impressive. No shock. It's been a cold and snowy winter here in Youngstown. All right, that's weather for Weather Geeks, and I'll see you right back here mid-afternoon on Thursday. Check out my forecast tonight on 21 News at 6 and after the Olympics tonight at about 11:30.